And now with us, Aaron Frank, our Athletic Director.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for coming. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about athletics, and then I'm going to give you some of the secret sauce that you've been waiting for, hopefully. And before I start, I want to say, one of the things that's unbelievable to me, you guys have been sitting here for an hour. There's probably not one of our kids, mine included, who could honestly sit here for an hour and pay attention anymore. Because their lives are so different, and they've grown up so different than us. They don't even watch TV. They can't be bothered by the time it takes to watch TV because they're just going to watch what they want on their screen. And the world has changed a lot since we were all in school, and it means we have to take some different approaches. I'm going to help you with a few things. I'm going to start off with some athletic stuff first. So at Seaholm High School, every year between 2/3 and 3/4 of our students participate in at least one interscholastic athletic sport. We highly encourage participation because it helps with high school, it helps with growth, and because it teaches life lessons that sometimes are hard to learn in other places. High school athletics is 3 seasons as opposed to the middle school where you're coming from, which is 4. The seasons are the fall, which is August through October, winter, which is basically November through February, and then the spring season, which is March to the end of the school year. At Seaholm, we have 35 varsity sports, just about more than any school around us. We have 65 teams because some programs have freshmen and JV teams. Some sports do make cuts. We really value high levels of participation, but there are limits in some sports and the number of students that we can actually work with and provide a great experience. Physicals, so you have to have a pre-participation physical form. They are valid, this is a state rule, not my rule, but they're valid from April 15th of the previous school year, so in our case, April 15th, 2022, and then they're valid for this entire school year. The reason I mention that to you is because if your insurance covers one physical a year, and it's supposed to be early April or something, push it off to the 15th so you can get on the cycle. And if you're off cycle, you have to go to a walk-in clinic. High school athletics start before the regular seasons. So many of them offer lots of year-round opportunities. So I highly encourage you to contact the coach. Let's get you on the email distribution list and the other communication lists. And all that is on the BPF's website. Philosophically, all of our participants are student athletes. The student part is first, and it's number 1 by a long shot. High school sports are educational athletics, so it's not the pros, it's not NCAA, and it's not a travel team. I'm going to be really blunt with you tonight, so let's start off with that. Speaking of travel, all travel teams are a racket. All of them, from A to Z. And I know a lot of you, I did it too, a lot of parents here writing checks every season. It's a racket. It's okay, and it can have been a good experience, but it's just what it is. Also, unless your child goes to one of the service academies, and we often have Seaholm students that'll go to the Air Force Academy, West Point, Naval Academy, Coast Guard Academy, but unless your kid is one of those kids, are you ready for this? There's no such thing as a full ride. Okay, so you're going to hear people say, oh, my kid got a full ride here, this kid got a full ride. Nobody got a full ride. It just doesn't happen. I mean, okay, 1 out of 10,000, but it doesn't really happen. The main thing that we try to teach is we try to teach excellence. And we try to teach our kids how to win and how to succeed and how to do that with character and how to be a gentleman, gentlewoman, a good person, but we try to teach them how to win because it's a skill that we believe is important that they need to learn in life. And every single student contributes to that on a team. And it may be in different ways. You might be the starter, you might be the starting point guard or the starting goalie, but it also might be true that your kid's role is in more of a backup capacity, and what they provide to the team might actually be more important, but they're all different roles. I want to talk to you a little bit about perspective, and I just think it's one of the most important words in the world. It's hard to think of this, or it's hard to really grasp it until it hits you across the face. So our football team is scrimmaging right now. We have 4 kids already that are injured, and just a couple of fluke situations, but it just happens. And so sometimes we just have to keep in perspective what's important and what's not important. If your kid's not playing because they're hurt, that's pretty important. If you have an awful situation with an illness or an injury at home, or we have a family that's, got a terrible financial situation and their house is being foreclosed on, or, someone loses a job. Those are things in perspective that are really important. If your kid is not starting on the JV volleyball team, that's not very important. I mean, it's just the God's honest truth, okay? And it's hard in the emotional moment to always think about that, but it's just the truth. Over 25 years, virtually every meeting I've had with a parent has been about playing time. And now you might come to me and say it's about something different. You might call me and say, I have a concern about the lack of transportation. Then we'll meet, and you'll say, before I get to the busing, I just have to tell you, I cannot believe my son didn't get into the fourth quarter yesterday, and we were up by 8 goals, or something like that. Because it's emotional, and I get it, and I've been there, and sometimes I've sat next to my wife at a game, and she's hit me in the shoulder and saying, how come he's not in the game? And it's emotional, and it's hard. Now, every coach makes a decision on who plays. No coach ever, in all the years I've been doing this, is out to stick it to a kid, or doesn't want to have the best players out there, doesn't want to do what's fair. But they're not always perfect. The system's not always perfect. Now, I'm sure we have some swim parents here. If your child is a swimmer, we use a program called Meet Manager. We could walk over to the pool right now, and for the past 20 years, in every single event, I can tell you who the fastest kid is and who the slowest kid is. And if your daughter or son runs cross country or track, we can do the same thing. The program's called athletic.net. It's on the web. You can call it up on your phone right now. We can figure out who's the fastest and the slowest in every event, and that's how it works. Now, every other sport's the same way. It's just not so easy to look it up. The coach has to make that judgment call. Somebody is the best offensive player, the best attackman, the best defensive player, the best server, the best libero, the best catcher. Somebody's the worst. As a skill. It doesn't mean that they're not, because they are an incredibly valuable member of our team and our school community. It just means that from a skill perspective, they're not where maybe somebody else is. And it's okay to be realistic about that. In fact, if you're not realistic about it, you're doing them a disservice. Because to grow, you have to know what your weaknesses are. So let's be honest with them. Let's help them see what those weaknesses are, and then let's encourage them to grow. Now, I can tell you there's a couple things. Now, every student deserves to know where they stand. If you're not playing, you should know why you're not. And it's fair to expect that our coaches are going to communicate that with you. And if your student is not clear about that, although I have to tell you most of them are, they should talk to the coach, and that's where you start, as you've heard from other people tonight. Now, I want to encourage you to support your child's coach if you want them to succeed. And I know it's hard, okay, but our coaches, they're really professional educators. They care so deeply. They're essentially volunteers. I mean, we pay them, but honestly, we don't pay them much. And they really are passionate, and they want to do what's best, and they need your support. So if your child comes home and they're sitting down and you say, I can't believe you didn't play, and the coach doesn't know what they're doing, or I can't believe she put in that offense for this game today. It just deteriorates everything. Your child goes back to practice the next day with kind of a bad attitude, and she's probably rolling her eyes at the coach, and it's not a good way to go. So support the coach and recognize that it's sort of like traveling on the highway, right? Everybody that's going faster than you is an idiot. Everyone that's going slower than you is a jerk. You've got the right speed. Well, it's kind of the same thing with where a coach is trying to run a program for 30 or 40 or 70 people. It's hard to hit that sweet spot. You can't get one speed that's right for everyone. So we do the best we can, and we want to work with you individually to get you to the right place. Okay, that's the athletic stuff. Let's get to the secret sauce. So first, we have to be honest and say, your kids took the brunt of COVID. I'll tell you right now, no group, in my opinion, is hit harder than middle school COVID kids. It's just the honest truth. That there's elementary kids had it different, high school kids had it different, and I'm not saying that there weren't challenges. I'm just saying that those 3 years of middle school and what a child typically goes through, and then to have that thrown on top, means the reality is you parents in the room have the kids that were hit the hardest. Now, I always tell people in this room, I throw out the number 47. I start by saying 47, 47, what's 47? And I see some of my wonderful colleagues have sort of co-opted my speech a little bit. But 47 months, in 47 months from right now, you're going to be taking your kid to Target to pick up those last few things on the list and get ready. And right now, this week, many of the parents of, like my youngest graduated last year, and there's a lot of parents and his friends that are dropping their kids off right now. So we've got this group of middle school kids who are frankly behind the 8 ball, and not their fault, but they're just in a different place than previous 9th graders coming in. So we've got these young kids that registered today, like middle school kids still. And in 47 months, we as a team have to get them to being adults who can stand on their own 2 feet. And it's a challenge. We can get there, and we've done it every other year, and we're going to do it with your kids. Now, I'm going to tell you what the number one mistake I've seen over the past quarter century, and I'm going to try to help you see why we have to avoid it. And here's what it is. It is very hard for all of us as parents. Maybe the most difficult thing as a parent is to see your child in pain. And if your child comes home with tears or is frustrated or runs into the room and slams the door or is short with you and you just know there is pain in there, it's the hardest thing for a parent. And a big problem that we have as a society is that we try to prevent them from feeling pain. Now, if your kid breaks their arm, I'm not saying you don't take them to the ER. What I'm saying is your child has to learn how to overcome adversity. In fact, it's the only way they're going to succeed. And life is full of adversity, of course, as every adult knows in the room. And so how do we balance this piece of wanting to help and not wanting to see our child in too much pain, but recognizing we have to help them overcome adversity? Well, I think part of the key is you have to trust that there are people here who really deeply care about them. And you have to stand behind them and let them face that adversity. So I'm going to give you some examples of adversity. I don't even know if this is supposed to be like top secret, but to get below a 4.0 weighted GPA at Seaholm High School last year, class of 2022, you had to go down 124 kids. Okay? So what I want you to know is your child does not have to get an A in every class. Your child may or may not be at the top of the class. Everybody tells me, my kid's at the top of the class. No, they're not. Okay? There are a couple people that are so smart, it's unbelievable in every grade. And it doesn't mean your kid's not great, but it's reality. And you know what? They're going to get a B, or they're going to get a C maybe sometimes. Or they might not be elected captain of a team. And they're going to be in pain. And they're going to come home. And then you have a choice to make. Okay? And some of you, even though you're listening to this speech, and some of you will come up to me after this and say, thank you for saying that. And in 3 years, you'll come flying to my office and say, I remember you said that, but damn it, my kid should have been a captain because she worked really hard all summer, and the other girls really care about her, and your coach screwed her over. And what I'm trying to say to you is, those types of adversities, maybe the grade doesn't happen, maybe you didn't get to start in a game, maybe you didn't make the varsity team, maybe you weren't elected president of a club. If you try to solve that problem, the only thing that's happening is you are denying your child the opportunity to learn how to overcome adversity, which in theory we all learn at some point, and it's way easier for them to learn it here, when we are here, when the teachers are here, when our coaches are here, because we really care about your kids, and we would never do anything to hurt them, and we understand, and we recognize that pain, and we are trying to help them overcome it. We are trying to help them grow. We are trying to help them see what they can do to take the next step. When people come in, when a student comes in and tells me, it's not fair I didn't make the varsity, it's not fair I didn't start, it's not fair I didn't play last night, I always look at them, him or her, and I say the same thing. Have you done everything in your power to succeed? Are you the first one to practice? Are you the last one to leave? Do you do everything that's expected of you? And in 25 years, every student has been really honest and said, no, I could do more. And it hurts, but that's the learning. That's the part where you have to learn. Now, obviously the kids don't come with a manual. In fact, well, the truth is we get a lot of bad information. Some from our own parents, some from our in-laws, maybe some from the athletic director standing in front of you, but I'm really, I'm very lucky to have 4 kids that are really well adjusted and doing well. And I can't tell you it's because I'm not like some brilliant, PhD in parenting. But I can tell you, I've watched enough parents over the last quarter century, and I'm at least smart enough to emulate what the ones whose kids are doing really well did. So I want to just share a few of those things with you, and then I'll be done. First one, and we all have to keep this in mind, I have to think about this all the time. Do not underestimate, I repeat, do not underestimate the degree to which your kids know how to manipulate you. And I'm really serious. I see it in meetings all the time. I sit down and whenever I have a meeting with someone's upset, we try to have the coach and the student there. And you can watch, I can watch it because I'm emotionally distant or detached from that family. And I can watch a student just spin one parent or the other up into a frenzy. And it's hard, and I always try to think when I'm on the other side of that table, they're kids, they're smart, they want an outcome, they know how to get there. So don't underestimate that. Second thing I want to advise you is do not negotiate. Now I know we have a lot of lawyers in the room, and a lot of your kids are going to be lawyers. At least one, if not 2 of mine are going to be lawyers. But when I'm the parent and they're the kid, it's not the opening argument of a trial. We're not here to negotiate at the table and come up with a settlement. If I gave you an answer, that's the answer. And I know it sounds crazy, and again, it's hard because the kids have come through COVID and lots of other things, but some of you would not believe the degree to which I watched parents negotiate. They give their child an answer, the kid doesn't like the answer, then they negotiate out a new settlement. It's crazy. So if your gut says this is the answer, stick with it. You're the parent, you're right. Be realistic. Like I said, you got to go 124 down to get to the below a 4.0 at Seaholm. There's, I don't know what the percentage is, but not everybody in the room's kid is going to Michigan or going to an Ivy League school or, doing this and doing that. Be realistic with where your kid's at. Very few people are going to play college ball of any kind, or the athletic end. And the last 3 things I want to tell you. First one is take some time before you fire off an email or dive right in. Because, it's like good advice. You hear people say this all the time. We get emotional when it comes to our own kids. That's natural. That's the way it's supposed to be. But a lot of times, if you could just take a step back and give yourself a little bit of time, get the full story, and then engage, I think you'll find it'll be well worth it. And I promise you, folks, we have phenomenal teachers and staff here, and they truly care about your kids. So when something happens that you might want to just fire off an emotional response, I just can guarantee you there are reasons for what happened that you might not know. And some of it is really goofy. I'm going to give you one quick example. We've had a couple times over my time here where there's been a student involved in a car accident. Just because kids think they're invisible or invincible, and they do stupid things, and they're also inexperienced. By the way, for all of you that are first-time parents, just wait till your kids taking driver's ed and you're dragging around their permits. That's about the most stressful thing you could ever do. Thank God I don't have to do that again. We had some students, over the years, been an accident or 2. Thank God nobody, hurt badly. And a principal has said, maybe it's first snow, maybe it's lots of kids getting their license, maybe it's just a beautiful spring day. Jump on the PA system and just make an announcement to remind people to drive carefully. Now you would think that's pretty benign, right? But somebody will be upset. Maybe somebody that we didn't even know whose son got an offender better 2 weeks before. And then they fire off this emotional email to the superintendent. Do you know that your assistant principal got on the thing and said this, and now my kid's meant to feel bad? Well, nobody's trying to hurt anybody. We're trying to keep the rest of the kids safe. Take a little time, calm down, it'll be okay, I promise. I want to reiterate the perspective thing, and you know, I don't know. I don't want to. This isn't meant to be a downer, but I'm just telling you, it's rough because there are many times that things are going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. We might be dealing with a student that's dealing with a real tragedy or a real issue in their life. And so something that might be important to you doesn't get done right away. It's not that it's not important. It's that we have to prioritize. And the safety and health and well-being of our students is that priority. Of course, we can't share it with you. It's protected. But if something takes a little bit longer, I promise you it's because we're dealing with the most highest priority thing, which is the care and health and well-being of a student who really needs us. And sometimes it's at a crisis basis. That's just the God's honest truth. And the last thing I want to recommend, and I've probably gone way over time, is eat dinner at the dinner table together sometime. Our kids, your kids are very busy, and they're playing sports, and they're doing things, and homework, and AP, and marching band, and my kids did it all. But I'm telling you, you have to prioritize having dinner at that kitchen table at least once a week. Even when all your kids are scattered, try to get everybody together and get it on the calendar. Don't make it an accident. Pick a day, look at the schedule for the week coming up, like whatever it is. Hey, this Thursday we're having dinner at the table, 7 o'clock. Everybody needs to be there. And it's important because I started off by telling you our kids can't even pay attention anymore for an hour. Well, we don't have dinner at the table together so much anymore, and it's really important, and it'll help, and they need that time with you and that, non-distracted family time. It's important. Anyhow, I know a lot of that was non-athletic. I'm happy to help with any questions, any athletic stuff. We have a great program here at Seaholm. I'm very excited for your sons and daughters, and go Mavs.